What's up, YouTube? ODST General back again with another Operation Trebuchet update. It's been a while since my last video, and I do apologize. I'm not sure if I said this during my last video or not, but probably expect that to continue going into the future here. Just as long as things kind of continue on as they are with YouTube. If they get a little bit better here in the not-too-distant future, we'll go ahead and stop doing that. As I just gave away by paying too far, we've got the Scorpion tank, finally. There's been people literally waiting for this thing for years. I've talked about it, and I said it was going to be coming pretty soon recently here. And here it is. It's finally in game. White Fame and Zephyr Souza worked on this together. White Fame doing primarily the config stuff. This is Zephyr's model. This thing is a beast. It definitely is. It's got some issues I have with it. You know, I just realized I have Ace on. There is some issues with this and Ace, and I should have tried this without Ace just to demo it off to you guys a little bit better, so I do apologize for that. But here's the tank, so let's go ahead, hop in this guy, and let's take a look at it here. So this is the driver position, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, this is the driver's seat. So this is first-person view. As you can see, you really can't see too well out of the window. The window is pretty high up, so you really can't see down to the road. Really, you see that bridge is the where you're kind of seeing as base level. You're seeing the top half of that bridge. To give you an idea of the clearance level, so you can see how difficult it is, even with that thing being at a downwards angle for that window. You can't really see down too far. So you have to rely on these monitors. Now here you can see pretty well what's ahead of you. It is a little bit jagged, you know, just because of Arma's picture-in-picture quality. But you do have something to go off of. You know, like the Bison, I don't think this is a great vehicle for first-person only ops. It's got a lot of issues with the capability to look around. You know, even if you could just like turn out or something, which you can't on this. That might help things a lot, because if you can't do this, you can't see what's behind you. You really need some sort of detachment or something, like a command warthog or something, to hang out with your tanks and watch their backs, make sure nothing's flanking around them. Because you, like, even if you have a tank commander, which these are only two-person tanks, you can't really do anything as far as watching your back. Just having the turret on a swivel is about all you can do. So this is the right click for the driver's seat, so you can see it's pretty straightforward window here. You can't turn it all, just only when the vehicle itself moves, that moves. But yeah, you can't turn it all, so that's kind of a shame. Let's go ahead and switch over to the gunner, though, now that we've taken a look at the driver's seat. And obviously this is all unfinished here in the driver's seat. So as bad as the driver's seat is, the gunner seat is a little bit worse, actually. The window is right there for the gunner seat, and that is too high to be able to see out of at all. You know, you can see the tops of some skyscrapers, and that's it. So there's really almost no point in that window being there, other than to just, I guess, let somebody know that there is a guy inside of that area. There is the cameras here, but the problem is that in order to look at them, you need to go into free look, and obviously you can't control the camera in free look. So you really, if you want to use it in first person, you pretty much have to stay in alternate fire mode the entire time. And even then, the camera is not that great. I mean, you can see it turns around really fast, the turret does. But beyond that, leaves a lot of room for to be desired as far as actually being able to see out of the thing. And then, of course, there is the exterior gunner positions, or passenger position, whatever you prefer to call that. There is 2 of these on each tread, so this thing can carry up to 8 people on the outside. They do fire from it, so that is really awesome. I'll show that off a little bit later in the video here. So let's go ahead and check out the OpCan side of this update. Now, OpCan's got a few things going on here. I previously mentioned, I don't have any images for this, that they're working on doing retextures and stuff of the anti-air defenses that came with the Jets DLC. That should be nearing completion pretty soon. They are also working on this armor that you're seeing here. So they've got the little barricade armor, which is something I've been waiting for a while. Very excited just to have that. Some nice little easily placed barricades for the UNSC that aren't like big, massive structures that look like they're supposed to be permanent. You know, so if you're trying to get together like a hasty defense against somebody, that would look appropriate. And of course, we've got all the Scorpion Tank variants here, which, you know, you guys saw from a distance. Let's take a closer look at these. We've got a few different variants for pretty much every branch. So these first couple are the Marine variants here. These are grouped in with the Halo 3 Marines, and I'll show these off in the menu a little bit later too. These are solid colors, you know, solid tan, solid green, or olive drab, I should say. And they've just got a couple skulls on the back. They say UNSC. They're pretty similar to these next ones, which are the UNSC Army. These ones have a very, very light camo pattern to them. Once again, we've got desert and woodland here. This one being the desert, of course, and the next one being the woodland. These ones only vary by having the USC Army logo. That's the only way they're different than the Marine version. These all work the same as the standard game version too, just something worth noting. We've got our CGA variant here, which this one varies a little bit more. The color pattern, it's got a camo pattern like those two. It's a little bit darker in coloring. It's got more just different text. It's got the CGA logo. It's got that down arrow, and that's got CGA on the side, which is, you know, Colonial Guard. The Bisons are there for a different reason. I'll talk about those as soon as I loop around and show you guys the rest of these camouflages off. So we're going to go ahead and swing back down here, and we'll end up back that way in just a moment. So those are all grouped under actual different units. So like I said, these are Halo 3 Marines, these are the UNSC Army, and the last one's grouped under CGA. These are just grouped under the UNSC stuff, or the general OpCan stuff. So these are just kind of for fun tanks more so. This first one here, these first four here actually are all Halo 5 based designs. So this is the Halo 5 Urban or Tundra, I want to say. I can't remember which right offhand. Pretty similar to the other designs. This definitely stand out a lot more. The camouflage probably won't be as good in most situations, but it's definitely more interesting looking, that's for sure. It stands out, which kind of defeats the purpose of camouflage, but it's going to be hard to hide a tank this size anyways. Here we've got the desert variant, woodland variant. So I actually was incorrect. Only the first three are based off of Halo 5. This is multi-dog. Yes, you probably can see it. So if you guys don't know, the head creator of Optray currently is the Dog 88, and so there is much dog memes. Such step, much tank. You know, this one's awesome. It's just, the thing is too, is this actually kind of works as a camouflage. As terrible as this would probably be in a lore-friendly op, I could actually see that camouflage working in a desert environment. It's actually pretty similar to the to chocolate chip camo that they used to use in the US. And of course, finally, we've got the insurrectionist tank, the UEG blaster. You know, it's kind of scribbled on there. They've got the UEG logo plastered onto the side. You know, that kind of rusty digital camo that they've got for the UEG. Pretty neat stuff. So let's go ahead, though. We're going to wrap up with the Scorpion Tank variations here. We're going to just talk about the Bisons really quick before we go on to talk about the rest of this stuff. I forgot to mention this. This is actually something from a while ago. There was a recent update to add in OpCan. Besides adding the tank, they also added some sort of hidden selection to the Bison, but also there's two versions of the Bison, which I did not talk about previously. So in the past, we had the Bison with a 90mm. They have since added in a lighter 40mm variant, so we're going to go ahead and just hop in here and then get into the gunner seat. So let's go ahead and spin this guy around here. So as you can see, it's a much lighter anti-infantry gun. It's very, very fast reload. You know, it's definitely a lot better than trying to take out infantry with this thing here. I'm just trying to be careful not to point this at my guy, because these weapons do have a tendency to like kill somebody even if you're not directly pointed at them. So I mean, that's a big gun. I wouldn't want to be shot by the thing. It sounds awesome, but not great for killing infantry. This building here, I'm not sure when this guy added in. I don't remember seeing this building before. this is part of the Madrigal map too. I'll talk about this as soon as I'm done showing off the tank. But we're going to go in a ride with the tank here. We're going to hop back into our driver's seat. We're going to have our other guy get back in, so now he won't drive off with the tank. That's just why I'm out running around with me. So now that he's in the tank here, we're just going to go ahead and head out. The Scorpion tank, like the Bison, has a 90mm smoothbore cannon. Well, it's got 90mm. I don't think the Bison's a smoothbore. I could be wrong. Pretty tall tank. I mean, you can see it just barely makes clearance on some of this stuff. You know, there's no roads or anything in place either. Turns pretty slow. It's pretty tough to turn this tank. It doesn't turn quite on a dime or very quickly. However, it does get up pretty fast in speed. I haven't really done this thing on a drag strip yet, but we'll try that out if we get the opportunity. But as it turns out, we've got a couple of targets. We've just run across a couple of Covenant Ghosts. Now, thankfully, these things are kind of stupid, and they're not going to shoot at us, probably, more than likely. So as you can see, the zoom function works. Putting a single shot in. Oh, wow. Normally, a single shot disables a ghost. But as it turns out, if you hit it in the right spot, it'll just outright destroy it. Maybe that's the rounds I switched to. Oh, yeah. APBC. So I switched the rounds. That's what that was. Okay, so fun to know. Good to know. There is different kinds of rounds. I didn't realize that. The APBC will normally disable a vehicle, and just enough to dismount the crew on the first shot, at least if you're shooting a ghost or another light vehicle. As it turns out, though, the alternate fire here, this canister shot, that will just rip anything, you know? Let's try this thing on infantry, because I have not tried out this canister shot on infantry. And kind of interested to see how this works. Well, actually, you know what, I already know how this tungsten APBC will work, and that is to say not too great. I gotta be careful here. One of these guys has a rocket launcher, and they will shoot back at me. Having all sorts of issues. My keyboard's kind of at an angle, so I could get the mic in front right now. So as you can see, they disabled my gun. So as you can see, I couldn't really kill that guy. I was shooting right at him, so the rounds might have missed a little bit. It's hard to say, but let's go ahead, and I'm going to try and get up on this here and get an angle at these guys, because now my gun's disabled. So you can see, I guess somebody was saying in Ace that the main hull is pretty much invincible, but that they only took damage on like the gun turret and stuff like that. But as you can see, losing that gun turret, getting that elevation disabled, is pretty bad. So not enough to quite kill the guy here. But we did take a rocket hit, and I mean, all we lost was a turret on direct hit, so. And we're still alive. We're still in perfect health. That was a lot better. Holy crap. Okay. That was much better. Let's go ahead and switch back to the tungsten rounds. We've got a couple wyverns parked down here. I should actually be able to shoot at these with my elevation stuck down like it is. So even with the tungsten rounds, we can wipe out a wyvern. So this is not going too well for me trying to show this stuff off to you guys, but yeah. So Scorpion tank's kind of a beast. I mean, it's not without its issues. Definitely something where if you're in a hardcore unit, you know, you're trying to play that first person stuff, you're definitely gonna struggle in here. I mean, especially if that turret gets disabled like this, because guess what? Now you can't see. You know, your gunner basically became useless, and this tank is now out of the fight, essentially. I mean, there's only... Oh, and there is a machine gun on the side, too. I actually didn't even realize that until just now. I forgot to check for alternate fire modes. So that's actually... I didn't think they were going to add in a sort of automated machine gun or anything like that for the Scorpion, but it looks like they did. So that's even better for taking out infantry. You know, just use that instead. So really quick here, we're going to just go ahead and... we're going to go back into the editor here. So we're going to look, before looking at the map, we're just going to take a look at the placement of these units. Ignore the 17th ODST and 83rd NOS. Those are stuff specific to my unit, the 17th ODST. We've actually started our own in-house texture projects just so that we can kind of have stuff unique to us that's easily identifiable too. But let's go ahead and look at these Scorpion tanks. So the first spot is going to be under OpCan. There's now a section for tanks. And you can see those Halo 5 tanks in the multi-dog. UEG Colonial Guard is our second spot. They've got their tank that we showed off. UNSC Army has 2 tanks. If you go to UNSC DF, there is now a spot for tanks. That's the default tank under UNSC DF. That's the one added by Zephyr Souza. That is added through OpCan, or not OpCan, AppTray Z. These other tanks I'm showing off are all OpCan, minus the Bisons, of course. These are also AppTray Z, so they can go over here. Not that that means anything. You can see also the camouflage is pretty comparable between these two. Going down under the desert and woodland tabs, we have tanks for the Halo 3 Marine style stuff. That's from OpCan. These tanks also, if I were to place them with a unit inside, they get placed with the Halo 3 Marines. So that's just something that worth noting, I guess, if you're a mission creator. You know, just when you go to place these, be aware that if you are placing these OpCan variants, that the guys inside will be based on the subgroup that you're selecting from. So in these cases, or in this case, it's the Halo 3 Marine Woodland variant. Likewise, you know, UNSC Army will get the UNSC Army guys, CGA, so on and so forth. So that's all the tanks placed in here, and that's where they can all be found. So let's go ahead and clear this out. Now we've got the map, Madrigal. Now if you guys aren't familiar with Madrigal, this is a map from the extended Halo lore. It's from some of the books, and I think they showed a little bit of it off in some of the animations, but I'm not sure. This is a work-in-progress map by Nighto Wizard. He's a member of the Discord and a longtime member of the OpTray and Air Dynasty Insurrection mods. So this is his first crack at this map. He's been working on this for, I think, about a week now, maybe. And he's made a lot of progress. He updates it almost daily, depending on how things go for him. So this right here is the main city that we're looking at. Now, as you can see, there's still a lot of stuff that's not done. There's not any roads in place. The city still needs to be filled out. I'm guessing he's probably going to go close to these borders here that he's set up on the city, although I could be mistaken. He's got just kind of road pieces and stuff laying around here, too. I think that's just to make it a little bit easier on him to get the pieces he needs. Although he could be, I guess, potentially setting stuff up ahead of time, too. I'm not really sure. Really, there's this is probably my favorite area of the city. This is the primarily completed section. I think this is a little looks like it's almost like a sports arena or some kind of park or something here. You know, it's a little indented section here. Plats, like plateaus, like platforms, all sorts of stuff like that. Feels very Halo. You see a lot of that in Halo 3 ODST, a lot of platforms and stuff where there's you know, drop-offs like this that go down into little divoted sections, or whatever you want to call it. This goes back up, goes under the bridge, and goes through to the other side. Just makes a nice little plaza square. Here we've got some army bases set up, kind of similar to what they had set up on the map release with 0.14 from the actual OpTray team. Now this, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like people actually placing military assets like this just randomly about a city. It can look good. I mean, I'm not saying it looks bad, but it just feels off having stuff like that. It doesn't feel like it's organic to a city. Nice little park here that they had some sort of water park or something going on. So that's kind of neat. Pool's been drained. A little bit crumbly, but still cool looking stuff here. So the city is pretty cool. It's probably the biggest point of completion so far. Off of that, we've got a military base right here. Little radar dish, tower for defensive stuff, shooting range. Definitely trying to make this feel a little bit more lived in realistic. Without roads, though, it does kind of throw it off. I guess the road will probably come down here and wrap around up to this point here, at which point they have their little guard tower and gate and stuff. And he's got the guard tower semi-barricaded off behind these barricades here. So let's take a look here. We've got a small town outside the city. This is actually not really much of a town. It's, I guess, some sort of industrial complex for the most part. I guess it's close enough to the city that if somebody worked here, they would just have to drive a little ways out to work. Maybe drive 20-30 minutes to work, depending on traffic. But solar power plants. Most of these buildings can't be entered. These warehouses, these can be entered. Of course, this one can, but a lot of the stuff over here is just more so for decoration. Still could be a fun area to kind of have some combat in. They've got a little gas station. He's got gas stations kind of throughout the map. So that's a nice little touch. A lot of maps don't have that sort of thing. I guess Halo cars just drive off a magic space dust or something. Although they probably are actually all based off of like energy or some sort of like fusion or something. Fusion. No, that's not what I meant to say. Anyways, got a little farmhouse. There's kind of farms scattered throughout here. A lot of the stuff outside the main city is mainly farming or rural communities. You can see from above, he's gone back in and he's photoshopped his map to have kind of farmland. So if you're looking at the map from above, it does look like it's farmland around these houses and stuff. He's got some old wrecked cars outside. Just a very ramshackle feeling outside. These are the Madrigal is basically out by Harvest inside the lore, and Harvest and Madrigal are like out in the edge of human space. So you can kind of imagine that while they've been colonized for a while, the people out there aren't the very high-tech, forward-thinking people that, well, I don't know that you'd say they're not forward-thinking, but they're very, they're very separate from the UNSC. I mean, these are where the rebels are spread, you know. A lot of these guys don't have the support, and they just kind of cobble stuff together with whatever resources they have, you know, often tearing apart, like, ships and stuff that they use to colonize for resources. So, you know, they got some nicer farmhouses and stuff, but a lot of what they've put together here is, like, early colonization stuff that they've got, so it's kind of an interesting look. You know, it doesn't necessarily feel like something you'd see in the future, even in a ramshackle thing, because this looks like ramshackle stuff now. But, you know, that's the assets we have to work with within Arma and, you know, within the mod. Here we've got a slightly larger town. Once again, it's another kind of ramshackle, beaten-up town. A lot of coastal cities in here. This one's got a lot of rocks and stuff that's overlooking the water, you know. Some sheds and old fort stuff here. Probably like very early colonized stuff was over here. Like this is like an early colony building or something, I guess. A lot of the map is still very open. Night Visitor has said he doesn't want to just add forests everywhere to fill in the space, so I'm not quite sure what the plan is for the rest of this stuff. I guess we'll probably find out at some point in the not too distant future as he continues working on the map. We've got another city. This one's slightly more modern, still pretty run down for the most part. It's got this little dock here at the end for, I guess, receiving and shipping out supplies. You know, you might think with Pelicans and all these other, like, dropships and stuff that they might not do that in Halo, but we do see several shipping boats and stuff throughout Halo, so it does make sense to see that. Here we've got another town. This one's even bigger. This is, I think, maybe the second biggest town in the mod as of right now. None of the towns show up on the map yet, but this one's still pretty run down, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot of houses. Most of these, if not all of these, can be entered into. You know, a lot of alleyways going here and there. I guess these are, they got storm drains. I'm not really sure why they've got storm drains, because this looks like it's intended for actually people to walk around it, because there is stairs and stuff that come down into this and go up out of it. So I guess it could just be some sort of overflow drain, though, still, just in case. They do have some people that, like, live down in these things, it looks like. This is just kind of a neat thing. It's different. I don't really see anything like this in Arma design. They've got a little platform bridge, a little cobbled together bridge that goes across over here to this other walkway that goes around the house. Just really well put together, though. I mean, it's still very early, but the map already has a lot of character going for it. Here, I don't know. As much as I think that these houses look old, I don't mind those compared to like castle stuff. Castle stuff in Halo map just doesn't feel right to me. This is the only thing I really don't like, just because even when you're scrounging resources together and stuff like this is a, you know, this is a design thing that's hundreds, if not, you know, thousands of years old by modern day standards, you know. The cobbled together stuff, I don't think anybody even in the future, like even if they were like didn't have a lot of resources and they were working primarily based off the land at this point, would use like design basis like that old to like build a castle, especially the amount of effort that would take to actually make something like this, because they're probably not manufacturing this by any sort of machine. You know, if they were doing something manufactured by machine, it would be housing units like this, you know, that looks in place. Something even more like this looks more manufactured, but like castle walls and stuff like that just don't look right. But I'm griping. That's the only issue I really have with the map. Beyond that, though, especially with like actual houses like intermixed, is kind of weird. Anyways, though, it's kind of a castle and some housing intermixed with some military elements, like there's helicopter landing pads and some barriers put into place there. So not quite sure what this is supposed to be, if this is supposed to be like a town that overtook a military fortress of some kind or what. It's it'll be interesting to see what that turns into once it's actually completed the whole way. Did I show this place off yet? I think this is one I've already shown off. Some of these towns do look very similar too. This is my favorite, probably my favorite spot right here, just because it's definitely a throwback. This is just a little tiny couple of housings and a big tower. This is, of course, if you guys, let me find the right angle here. Maybe you guys might recognize what this is supposed to be influenced by. If you didn't, I probably wouldn't blame you too much, because it would be easy to miss. Maybe I can help jog your memories somewhat. Didn't want that. And if you guys still aren't getting it, the answer is Silent Cartographer. So this is not one-to-one, obviously. You know, the Silent Cartographer is on the Halo ring, the first Halo ring that humanity encountered. That was a complete island, water all around. This is actually attached to a slightly larger island. Obviously, it's using human buildings instead of Forerunner buildings, which aren't in the mod, and even if they were, probably wouldn't look quite right up there. So, as you can see, though, they've got that little rock overhang here. You go up here, and it splits off like it did in the original game, except for in the original game, it did end up kind of like going back down further out. Instead here, it goes up, and you've got a couple of human buildings up here, and that kind of ends. You go through another rock underhang, and you know, here's that big rock here where you could like jump off, and you got a path that goes back up in here. And this winds around for a pretty good bit, and then comes out to a couple of farmhouses, as well as some kind of crop that they seem to be growing here. I'm not really sure what this is supposed to look like. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm not sure if there's much else out this way. There's the city there. We've got that industrial complex again. Oh yeah, there's a military base. This is the big military base. This is pretty similar to Iberus if you've played that. They've got that big UNSC base. This one's skirted by a farmhouse that kind of overlooks it a little bit. And then, you know, you've got your entrances, which I believe are... I guess it's just the one side that has the entrance right next to that farmhouse. So it'll kind of curve around here, it looks like, and go back in. Don't know where that road's supposed to go to or come from, but... You've got some barracks, you got a training course right here, so he's got all the training stuff laid down. They've got a little barricade and a little back entrance into the base that goes through this rock face here, I guess. If you climb over these rocks, you can get up and out of the base or into the base. Could be interesting for an assault, you know, you get a couple rib boats, you come in from here, you know, and early dawn, late night, middle of the night insertion, creep up this way. I mean, it's a big dead walk. I mean, there's nothing there right now, but sneak in, and you could get in under, between these rocks and sneak in from here through their training area. Get up, hold this tower or something. The track, like some sort of command structure, all sorts of stuff in here. So it's cool stuff. Definitely a neat map. I do believe that's everything. That's the Scorpion tanks. That's the map. Oh, there is one other thing I wanted to talk about before I ended this, and that is that Big Wilk will be working, well, he's already working on a couple of props. So the first thing he's working on is a new helicopter or Pelican landing pad, whoever you want to land on it. I'm not sure the exact height, but it is pretty tall. It probably is about up to maybe like here or here, height-wise. It's intended to be able to place it down into like a forest or something and have it above the treetop. So it could, I guess, potentially even be taller like this up here. It's hard to tell the scale just off of looking at it. It can fit 4 Pelicans on it, so it's got to be pretty sizable. To fit 4 Pelicans on it. Obviously, that fits a lot of infantry. There's a big concrete section in the middle, which appears to hold an elevator, which will drop down, and then there's a ramp from the elevator down to the ground. Beyond that, let's see here. I know I'm forgetting something. I'm just trying to remember what it is. There is also bug reports that just came out today. That is that the ODST drop pod script or module without the ship will crash the game since the Jets DLC that just got discovered here today or yesterday. So just if you guys do go to use that, or if you're having issues with it, the problem is known, just got found out about today, and the devs are going to try to work on it. Wilk has also figured out the issue with the ODST HUD. He just hasn't had a chance to fix it yet. It is related to the game trying to load all the memory from the HUD at once. He said if it doesn't load the memory all at once, the HUD will load fine in time 64. He said he might redo the HUD, though. He is considering doing that, so he might just redo the entire HUD before he even fixes it. We'll see how that goes, though. Hopefully, we'll see a hot fix for it instead. I don't mind the HUD as it is right now. I actually kind of like it, but, Wilk is an awesome developer. He's probably will come up with something cool either way. I just want to see a fix for as much of that stuff that's breaking 64-bit, so that everybody can get to using that, because I know that a lot of people want to use that with the mod. Beyond that, though, I think that is everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share to the channel, all that stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.